How are you?
Hi, thanks for talking to me. I'm good. How are you?
Just fine, thanks.
I really enjoyed this season. I actually just got done watching episode 4 about an hour ago, I guess.
Yeah,
So I
doing
really
your homework.
so yeah, yeah. Well, my Wi-Fi was down, so I was watching on my
Oh
iPad.
no.
But it was still good. Even on my iPad, it was still good. So the first thing I want to ask is how long, I guess, had you guys decided on having Luke lose his abilities? Was that something that was decided a long time ago, or was that something that maybe as you went to pitch this season sort of came about?
No, that actually it happens in season or in episode 10 of the first
Right,
season. And we had the challenge is always in a show like this
mhm,
is to not be repeating yourself all the
right.
time. And as we were getting close to in the writer's room, kind of figuring out the arc and particularly Luke's arc, we started talking about, well, how do we promise our viewers that season two ain't going to be just
Right.
a retread of season one? And the thought of having Luke lose his powers, which seemed to be, I spent a lot of time explaining this to our writers' room because I had this vision of the relationship that Luke had with his sister that happened in utero, that it created a connection that never really went away. That he, his connection to the other world was, or to the other side, was a direct result of him being connected to someone who had died.
Mhm.
And well, what if when she gets pulled down the
Oh, well,
down
whatever
the
you want to call it.
portal, yes, the
Portal.
portal, what if that was severed? I mean, physically, it made sense that
Right.
that might be something that was severed. And what would that do? What would that mean? How would that be? And once we kind of made that decision, it just opened up all kinds of cool things. I mean, what kind of stuff is August going to have to
Yeah, that's always fun.
create
All this
and jury
inventing.
rig
Yeah.
to open that dialogue to make it possible to do that? And what's it going to do to Luke? Because Luke always kind of felt like this was a curse and a burden.
Yeah, now he wants it back.
And now, yeah, and
Yeah.
and he still has kind of the bravado. Like at one point, August, I think it's in episode 2, August asks him, do you think your condition is permanent? And Luke says, well, you mean, do I think that I'm going to be a normal person now? Gee, I hope so. And so he's still kind of whistling in the graveyard, about that ability. And one of the things that it also did was it gave us the opportunity to have Susan step forward, as someone like Susan invariably will.
Whatever, anyway. Yeah.
And then Luke becomes a little threatened, a little insecure, says some very unkind things, and makes her kind of
Hmm.
hunker down and wonder what she's doing. And right at that time, she finds this house, this wonderful house. And she is always, and one of the things we front load in episode one, in episode one of season two, is Susan saying, I believe a house is like a soulmate. She's telling a client this.
Yeah.
You can look at 1,000 other houses, but when the right one comes along, whammo, and and she kind of finds that house, and it's a safe place, and it's a place that hunkers down, and a place that embraces her. And just how tightly it
Yeah,
embraces
we
her,
don't know yet.
we will come and see.
Right, right. And I do want to ask about the house, but first I want to ask you one thing. We were actually talking about this on our podcast the other night. Susan kind of got her powers, I mean, came more into her powers, I guess. I mean, she had them before, but sort of at the time this all happened to Luke, is he maybe unconsciously though, jealous that she can do things now and he can't? Is that maybe partially why he's so because he's not really picking on the other people as much as he is very, you know, condescending to her. So we were just discussing this. I was kind of curious what you thought about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, there could be a little bit of it. It's funny, I've never thought of that, but there could be a little bit of superpower envy. But I think mainly it's the fact that Susan, he has such respect for Susan. Susan does what he does. And I mean, if you look at, I think anybody, we look at people who do what we do in a little bit of a different way. We tend, if they if they succeed, it almost feels like we're failing. And I think that, August can build great stuff. Phil does great research. Zoe does everything great. But Susan's a salesperson, a real estate salesperson, and that's what he is, or that's what he, used to be. And now she is a real estate salesperson who's just killing it, and has these, can spot weld a trailer hitch. Yeah. But he is now just a real estate guy. And is that enough? And that's, I think that is what leads him to say these unkind things. And, I think Luke has never been mean. And Tim Rozon, who plays Luke, in his first couple of episodes, he's look at this script and he said, I have to say this, and we don't, and even as he says those things, and this is what makes Tim such a great actor, is that he walks that line so nicely. So we see he's being a jerk, but we still kind of like him. Yeah, because nice people can say some very unkind things and do some very unkind things. It's just what makes us human. And I think that's what Luke's whole self-image, his whole image of who he is, has changed. And he kind of overcompensates, particularly in episode 1.
Yeah, I was just thinking, though, I guess at first Susan's kind of wanted more, to do more. And now she's kind of doing it on her own. And he's, like I said, he's kind of condescending to her. And she sort of, in the next couple episodes, backs off a bit, which kind of surprised me. And I'm just, can you talk about that? And also, is it partially, I guess, because she's so concerned with everything at work, maybe, that she's missing all the signs that we're seeing of this house that maybe is we're seeing, maybe this isn't a good thing, but she's obviously not quite noticing it. She's enjoying her house.
Yeah, no, and that's a really good point, is when she encounters this house, she encounters it's the wrong house at the wrong time. Because right now she is feeling threatened, and she's feeling not insecure, she's pissed off. She feels that she's being marginalized and devalued, and she kind of arguably is, yeah. And but she also knows that it's Luke's agency. He has his name on the door. And any of us who have been in a situation where we're at a place where we don't feel like we're being valued, I don't think the answer that leaps to mind is to grab somebody by the collar and say, value me. I think you think, okay, should I stay or should I go? And that's kind of the math that she does. And when Susan has her conversation with her mom early on, her mom makes it clear, I don't think you'll ever be happy until you've worked in some place where you're the boss. True. And that gets her thinking too. And just when she's having those thoughts, she finds and she's a little bit vulnerable, and the house kind of feels that.
I was going to say, I wonder though if maybe in the back of her mind she also maybe thinks that Luke does need her and he will come crawling back to her. I kind of wonder, if that's just kind of in her head a little bit. Just a little.
I cannot disagree with that at all.
So I also wanted to talk about Zoe. Obviously, she's getting her license. Can you sort of talk about that? Like, how is that going to maybe affect the dynamic? What's that all
Zoe
about?
is, yeah, Zoe is so fun. She's just such a fun character to write, and Savannah has taken her to places that yeah, all the writers in the writers' room love Zoe so much. But yeah, having her become a real estate agent. It had to be, for one thing, it had to be her idea, as most things that
Yeah.
happen to Zoe does. Um, but she is probably the least. I mean, many realtors that I know, and this is broad to salespeople.
Mhm.
There's a certain personality that is sales. They're generally people. I think they generally tend to be
Well,
outgoing and people pleasing kind of people. And hey, Zoe,
yeah.
Says very much what she thinks. She really, she really has never found a product that she gives a crap about enough that she would want to sell it. But it's that opportunity. It's that, and it's I think catalyzed somewhat by her wonderful relationship with Susan. And the fact that Susan is bowing out right when she is stepping forward is an enormous burden, I think, for Zoe. And just when she needs that mentor more than anything else, um, she's gone and she's incommunicado. And not only that, but there's the thought that she's rejected them. And Zoe's part of that. And that's a real hurtful thing for Zoe. And if you combine the fact that she's doing something that she's not, I mean, she could be good at anything,
Right. But she's
but
nice.
does she love it? Is it something? And Zoe is someone who is not going to do something that she does not love. So watching her kind of say, is this something I can do? Because she's good at it. Of course, she's good at it. She's Zoe. But is it something she wants to spend the rest of her life doing? We'll see.
Now, the other thing I wanted to ask about, and granted, she isn't, I don't know whether she's coming back much or not. I mean, we see a little bit of her, is Megan. So can you talk about sort of Luke? I mean, is he moving on? Can you just sort of talk about, like, is she going to come back? Just whatever you're allowed to say, I guess. I don't know how much you're
Yeah,
allowed to
no,
say.
no, and I loved Megan. I loved Megan. No, not talking about her like she's dead because she's not.
No.
That I will tell you. No, but I love Megan, and she was such a good. She was so good for Luke. But so we having her move on was part of my goal in season one. Was to leave Luke in a really crummy position
Yeah.
at the end of the season, and losing her and having her just decide that she just could not have this insanity in her life, and knowing that that it was part of the package when
Mhm.
she was in a relationship with Luke. That was fun, but then the irony
That
of
he
having
lost
him
that.
lose his
Yeah.
powers just when she is moving away to follow her career, her medical career, that was really delicious. Now, that being said, um, I don't uh, I don't think we've seen the last of Megan. I can't say for sure, but she is such a wonderful, not foil for Luke, but she her skepticism from the very beginning, from the very pilot in season one, is just such a nice seasoning
Mhm.
for Luke's character. And you cannot have enough smart, ambitious, clever women in your show, and Megan is certainly that.
Yeah, she's great. Now let's talk a bit about Augie. We haven't really talked about him. You kind of mentioned this. Is there any maybe inventions that are coming that'll be cool that you can tease about? Because he's always got fun stuff.
He always has fun stuff, and he is a very analog guy in a digital world. We will see a lot more. We'll peel back some of the onion, the layers of August this season, and we'll get to see him a little bit more. And he is very true to the guy that we've met. We'll just find a little bit more maybe about how he got that way, and maybe get to meet one of the earliest machines that he built early in his career. But he will keep right on. Part of Luke losing his power was a great opportunity to have August be creating these things, from the Scrabble tiles to the old-fashioned phone and everything, and these different devices that are meant to reach across and be able to communicate, to the other side of the veil. And we'll see those all season long.
All right. What about Phil? Are we going to get any? Because we don't have a whole lot on him. We did the one episode last year, but are we going to be getting more of his backstory, or him kind of?
Yes, we will. Yes, Phil will have some cool things going on in his life. We'll meet another member of his family, and we'll see Anthony. Him and Anthony at home, and they're trying to adopt. So we'll see how that goes. That'll be an ongoing story, and you'll get plenty of Father Phil. And he is, in this season particularly, he is so good at tracking down the folklore and coming up with the aha moment that, oh, so that's what the unfinished business is, or that's what the story is. Exactly. He is so good at that, and we'll see him bring it to a whole new level.
Well, it's really great ensemble cast. Let me just ask you, maybe wonder that which character do you think you're most like out of all of them that we discussed?
Which one am I most?
Are you most like as you? Yeah, as George. I'm just curious. Who do you connect with?
I'm probably in August. I'm probably. I'd like to think that there's, and then there probably is some of me in all of them. I identify with August the most as far as kind of the introversion and the constant dropping of literary obscure literary references. I'm guilty of that.
No, I get that. So other than what we already talked about a lot, but is there anything else coming up that you're allowed to tease that's in these, next few that are coming? I think we covered.
We'll have an addition to the Roman Agency.
Oh, wow.
And that'll be in episode 7 of the second season. And I think you guys are going to love her. And she comes in and steps right in. And it's funny, I was worried when we talked about bringing in another character, because this ensemble is so wonderful. The chemistry is just so great and everything. And this character, and it's a credit to our writers and to the actor herself, just steps in and fits right in seamlessly, and gives a whole different point of view. So that'll be fun. Watch for that.
Can you tell me who plays her, or is that, I don't know if that's...
Yes. Her name is Elena Watko, and she is a fabulous actor, and just a treat to have added into our mix.
Very cool. Do you have any other guest stars that you can talk about coming up?
Oh gosh. Probably not many. I mean, they're so tied to the stories,
right.
That we have. But we had such great guest stars this season, and we are um, what we call our spook du jour, our individual stories within each episode are so dependent on those guest stars coming in and stepping in and being fun and interesting and believable and everything. And gosh, we were so fortunate this season to have some just really fun people and entities.
All right, good. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing them, but we've definitely gone over 50 minutes. So, but thank you for your time. I appreciate
No,
it.
not
I
at all.
really,
Thank you
really enjoy
for.
it so far. I hope they send more soon.
Oh, great. Well, thank you for having me and for the support of the show. Appreciate it.
It's a great show. I like it. And I love all the houses too. I'm
Oh,
always like
oh, St. John's,
looking at the
Newfoundland.
house details.
St. John's, Newfoundland is so cool. It's just it's I can't imagine shooting it anywhere else.
Yeah, they're definitely a big part of it, I think.
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, thank you. Have a good rest of your day.
You bet. Thank you.
Sure. Bye bye.